everyone. Well, as you can see, my guest is right here beside me. She's been on the show.
Oh my gosh,
a number
few
of times.
A handful.
This is my friend, Dr. Carin Bondar. Welcome back to the show, Carin.
Thanks for having me, Nancy. It's always so good to talk with you. And I'm so glad we get to sit beside each other finally. It's been a while.
No, if you haven't seen the show before, Carin is a doctor of biology. And she does a heck of a lot of stuff, but I want to ask her bug things because she knows a lot about bugs.
I love bugs.
Right? Not the kind of people, not like people that bug.
Yeah, I don't love those, that type of bug, I guess. But the little creepy crawlies, I like to say, if you think it's creepy, I love it.
So cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be like in the summer. Sometimes you see these tiny, tiny little gnats. I don't know what they call them. And they all swarm together. Like, what are they doing?
So a lot of times when we see these little tiny things like black flies, little sand flies and things like that, they're all emerging. So they will have their early developmental stages in fresh water. So we generally, about streams, ponds, lakes, and the larvae are all aquatic. So all the little wormy things we see in the sediments there, those guys will actually then metamorphose into a lot of the flying, swarming insects that come around. And generally when these guys finally emerge, the point of the adult stage. So the only reason the adult stage exists, so to speak, is to just spread them out. All of the sexual reproduction has already occurred. It's time for them to, hatch, fly away, lay some more eggs, and then they die. Kind of like the salmon, So this does happen sort of synchronously at specific times for each species. And you can imagine that for species like this, that are very, very small and that have to find each other over vast, vast differences, it makes sense for there to be some kind of synchronicity to the timing and the way that they do it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But what has that got to do with the swarming?
Well, which kind of swarming do you mean? Do you mean when there's like a light source and they're kind of swarming around that?
No, this could be in the middle of the day.
Okay.
All right.
And they're in the air swarming around you. Oh, and they're just looking for love.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I mean, listen, they are very, very sensitive to all of the kinds of smells and chemicals that we will put out there. Sometimes I notice, if I'm wearing something that's a sweeter fragrance that may actually attract some of these insects that are, they won't be understanding what it is, but they may be intrigued and attracted by it for an unknown reason. But certainly, they're not necessarily changing their behavior to adapt to us. Really, it's just that we're seeing them and we're kind of invading their territory. And so they may be swarming us as a way, another potential idea is to sort of say, hey, you're moving in on my territory, potentially, although these are small, teeny little insects. So we don't really have too much to say as far as cognition and planning and things like that. But generally speaking, they're reacting to chemicals, they're reacting even things like body odor and perspiration, thinking about scale. These are tiny little things. A drop of perspiration is like this gorgeous Gatorade for the whole day, right? So we got to put it into the right kind of context.
Right. Now, I grew up, as you know, probably I grew up in Montreal, and I remember going to work. I worked at Dorval Shopping Center.
Cool.
Where airport was. Nice. And by the way, and during this time when it was first built, it was it was not enclosed. Okay. And it was like the largest shopping center across Canada. In its day.
Oh, before West Edmonton Mall, I guess.
Totally before
that.
Yeah,
oh, cool. I've never heard of that one.
I just thought I'd throw that in there just because I know some stuff. I don't know why, but anyway. There was something what we call shad flies.
Oh, okay.
And they would be there would be so many that they would crunch. You would walk on them, you would crunch them. And now the years there would be less of them.
Okay, yes. That's kind of reminding me of the cicada cycle, also some of the cricket cycles, some of these larger arthropods that actually, in these years where they have almost a super population, I think it was actually we're still, some African countries are still dealing with a massive outbreak of locusts that happened in 2021/2022. It's still occurring. And so what will happen then, every certain number of generations, and again, based on the conditions that the parents are living in, they may choose is using that word sort of loosely, to insist or to have to go into a stage where they produce a swarm. And so a normal, cricket species, or some kind of a species that wouldn't be a problem in, quote unquote, normal year, during these swarm years where there are so many, just millions upon millions upon millions of individuals, they wreak absolute havoc on not just crops, but certainly, and especially in African countries where there is a lot of agricultural activity, where these things can just go right through, get rid of everything. It's devastating. But not just crops, just vegetation. I mean, it's just crazy. You'll sort of look in neighborhoods and you won't see green anymore. And so these cycles, I mean, I think they're even something that's been spoken about in biblical times, these swarms of arthropods, that's what they're called. And that's the phylum, or the grouping of animals that these locusts belong to. It's the largest group of animals on the planet. So these guys have a lot of power and a lot of control, because, as one individual, okay, maybe we could crunch it. Two individuals, okay, maybe we could crunch them. By the time you have 20,000 of them,
they would have been considered a plague, probably.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And when you consider that it's possible for these locusts to be inhabited by parasites themselves, they can literally be bringing a plague. They can be, sort of how, in the same way that mosquitoes can carry malaria viruses, there can be other parasites or other viruses that come along with these locusts. And then that, of course, adds a whole nother level to the devastation that can occur. We shouldn't ignore these little teeny guys, right? Like, we consider them to be a little bit of a pest, but honestly, the way that the planet functions, it means that these little guys we understand these guys play such a huge role in keeping what we call homeostasis, or just things okay in the world.
We are, as humans, that disrupt the balance.
That's right. Yeah, you got that right. And it's interesting, because here we are, mid-May, here in Chilliwack, British Columbia. It's snowing in a lot of places close to us on the Coquihalla, out sort of the deeper areas of the Fraser Valley. It's mid-May. That's not right. That's a problem. And I would say this is our new normal, isn't it? We've just had so many changes to our weather patterns. On our insect topic, I was so concerned about the insects, based on all the fire activity that we've been having. I mean, because you have to, think that when a fire, like the devastating wildfires we had last year, the one that tore through Lytton, for example, takes out everything in its path. And that includes the insects and the invertebrates. They will be one of the first things to come back, because they can fly and they can move quite a bit more than something like a snail, or something that's has to crawl like a beetle. But boy, those ecosystems will take a while to recover. In order to get that full suite of critters back in them. There's these things called ecosystem services. And this is something that I teach my students quite a bit. No matter what class I'm teaching, I always talk about ecosystem services. And what this means is that a balanced and healthy system provides us with air, water, space. It provides us with the ability to exist. And that's a service that we obtain from nature. And if we, mitigate nature's ability to provide ecosystem services to us, to anything, to the world, there won't be life. Like, life can't exist without the services provided by ecosystems. And if ecosystems are torn apart, we do not any longer have the services that they provide, Like,
as if we haven't been seeing some of the devastation that's been happening, right, due to our interference all the time.
That's right.
I just want to tell the audience, like you mentioned, what you teach your students. You're a professor at the University of Fraser Valley.
That's right. Yes, and I teach biology there, and I also teach a lot in the School of Land Use and Environmental Change, a lot of environmental science.
Oh, that's cool. Now get back to insects. this has happened last year in our building too. Like I get occasionally big black ants
Oh, yes.
coming into my apartment, and of course I don't keep them in here, and I don't throw them out. I get rid of them because you can't. I can't open a window and throw it out because I've got screens everywhere. But what are they doing?
Yeah. You know what? I do get ants in my home as well. I love it because the people that lived there previous to me had birds in a cage, and their bird cage, was always littering little bird seeds on the floor, and those, got down into the cracks of the floor and whatever. So I almost never don't have little teeny ants coming up through the floor because they're looking for all those bird seeds.
Right.
I have no problem. I mean, if you've ever been to the tropics, and maybe a lot of us up here in northern North America haven't, but if you go to the tropics, what you will come to understand is that you simply coexist with these things. Yeah. You will never get rid of ants walking on your counters and cupboards and tables and stuff in the tropics, and that is just simply because, if we could sort of have one of those infrared cameras that would just show ant. What we would see is that the ants are everywhere. They're ubiquitous. They're in the walls. They're in the fountain. They're just everywhere. And what are they doing? They're just existing.
They're just existing.
Are they bothering us? No.
Well, I don't mind them existing. I just don't want them to exist in here.
Yeah.
Because one time I woke up and they're on my bed, and that freaks me. Not that I'm afraid of them.
Well, some of them do bite.
Yeah, I know. But these big black ones don't bite, as far as I know.
No, I don't think they do.
And I know at our front door, you can see all the little tiny ones, because you can see the sand.
Oh, exactly, where they disturb that. So here's what my thoughts are on, humans, at least, sort of mostly westernized, North Americanized humans. We struggle with wildlife, and by wildlife, I mean ants. Ants are part of wildlife. And I have such tremendous respect for these animals. Like, they are so intelligent. They teach us so much about group activity, cooperation, collaboration. We learn so much from them. And I don't know, as a biologist, I will never feel okay about, or I will never be creeped out by seeing an ant in my house. I'll just be like, oh, cool, there's an ant.
I think it's because of your knowledge.
Yeah.
Most of us don't know, like, what are you doing here?
It can be kind of unnerving.
Yeah.
And it may be, I guess what we've come to believe is that, if you have something like that in your house, it must be because your house is filthy, or because you did something wrong, and oh my gosh, these horrible heathen creatures are coming into your home. I mean, that's not the truth at all. They're looking for food, and they're trying to survive just like everyone else. I guess if you don't want them, like if they really do creep you out, I guess you can use ant traps or whatever, but certainly, again, there's going to be a seasonal component to that. And if you can just sort of tell yourself, you know what, let's just give it a month. I'm seeing these little teeny ants, or whatever the case may be, the big black ones. I'm seeing them right now. I'm going to mark it in the calendar, and then I'm going to wait a month, and just, they're probably just having a big upsurge in the population. And there's just really no reason to poison them. I mean, you're poisoning yourself. You poison them because you're in your own house.
In my other life, we had a vacation home in Florida, and we got lots.
Oh, so you get it. Yeah.
I do get it, and it was kind of interesting because it was a really nice place, and they had a pool, but the pool wasn't enclosed in a cage.
Oh,
so that the little
lizard,
the little lizards, and when we thought, my kids and I thought they were fascinating to see the lizards. We loved that. It's the same as when my daughter and I first moved out here from Ontario, like seeing the slugs. We had slugs back east, but very tiny.
Right.
So my daughter and I are all excited to see
those banana slugs.
We thought that was exciting, but I have certain issues with, like, I assume they're ladybugs. They look like ladybugs.
Okay.
Coming in here, and then they die because they've nothing to eat.
Yeah. Well, and also don't forget ladybugs. Again, we're going to be having that scenario where the females are looking to lay their eggs, redistribute themselves, and die. So that's kind of their job at this point. You think about the salmon that come back up the stream to spawn and then die.
Right.
That's kind of what the ladybugs are doing in a sense. So it's nothing that your house is doing to them. They're not being obnoxious by dying in your house. They're just like, that's part of their natural cycle. But I love what you said though about when you were living in Florida. and the tropics and the little lizards and things, because that reminds me, when you are in the tropics, of course, your house is just crawling with bugs all the time. But what you will also get are those little geckos that are all over the place. And the good thing about the geckos is that they're the ones that are getting most of the ants and the mosquitoes and the other things that are flying around in your house. And so, if you live in the tropics, you just simply are immersed in wildlife, even inside.
Right.
I love that. And I think, in North America, we should get more used to that. Why is it such a problem to share our homes with wildlife? Like what?
When I had my house on Market Street, I had a cherry tree, and the aphids invaded the cherry tree.
Okay.
But then the ants would climb up there and eat the aphids. So if you pay attention, right?
Yes. And ants will farm aphids. This is such an amazing interaction. I love this. Ants will actually corral aphids and farm them, because aphids produce sugar water out their butt. It's called honeydew. So, you see those little droplets at the butt of the aphid. The ants love that. And so the ants will actually use them like cattle, and they'll sequester their own little herd of aphids. And you might think, well, this is a bad deal for the aphids because they're just getting, their milk taken. It's not milk, it's honeydew. But really it's called a mutualism, because the ants will actually also offer protection to the aphids from other predators. So other predators come, they're like, ooh, I want some of that honeydew. I want some of those aphids. And the ants are like, no.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
These were black aphids, by the way, which I'd never seen before.
Oh, cool. Super interesting.
And I had a lot of hollyhocks. My yard was full of hollyhocks. And what I loved about that is when you walked among the hollyhocks, and most of them were taller than me, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm so tall, but the little bees were everywhere.
The little teeny ones.
The small ones, and they never bothered you. They don't bite you. They don't sting you.
We have several just tiny native species of bumblebees here in British Columbia.
And I couldn't wait every year. I couldn't wait for the hollyhocks to be in bloom so that the bees would come, right? And if they wouldn't come, I'd get worried about the bees, because I know we overspray in the farmlands and all of that stuff.
And bees are in danger of global collapse. We've certainly done our fair share in this planet to deter bees, which is just, humanity. I mean, that's the opposite of what we should be doing. Bees give us life. Bees give us food.
I know it's hard to come to terms with when you start thinking about it, really thinking about it, and I had the mayor on, and we were talking about how we're trying to do better, like with the carbon, getting rid of the carbon and all that stuff, but they put these years on by 2025, or not 25, that's too close.
But 2050, this and that. And plans,
why not 2025? Why does it have to be? But there must be pushback from the manufacturers of vehicles, or the people producing the oil, whatever it is. Anyway, that's off topic, but I just had to say something there.
We could have some discussions about that, let me tell you.
That's a whole different
fossil
topic.
Fuels. We need to talk about fossil fuels and why we shouldn't be doing fossil fuels, and why, frankly, we have to use fossil fuels because the top down is telling us to. But another day. Another day. Today we're talking about bugs.
Yes, one of the June bugs.
Oh, June bugs. Okay, I don't know too much about June bugs.
Well, it's my understanding that they come out every so many years.
Okay.
They hibernate in the soil or wherever it is they do.
Quite possible.
And if they get in your house, I don't know what they can see or how they sense things, because they'll bang into things. They'll fly around and bang into your furniture, your doors and your walls and stuff.
Interesting. I wonder if, it sort of strikes me that they would be using some kind of a chemical or a scent cue,
right?
And not necessarily visual, because if they're banging into things, certainly, and they may be just from hatching, maybe used to hatching out or metamorphosizing in an environment that isn't a house. So that also might be somewhat disorienting to them, and could cause that kind of a strange looking behavior. Moving into things.
It's all kind of interesting. I just thinking about, like, again, being in Florida, there were these frogs. I remember beautiful green frog, a light green.
And they sound amazing.
And it was awesome. And then we had turtles and they would hiss.
The hissing turtles. Oh, beauty.
So all of these things that we experienced there that I'd never experienced before, because I didn't live in that kind of climate. right? And it was pretty fascinating.
It is. I'll tell you, I have only been to Florida in the context of traveling to other places, but I would love to spend some time in the Everglades. I do those
my
expeditions
gosh.
to Borneo and to Malaysia. And
Yes.
going to a tropical forest or a tropical, like
Yeah.
the Everglades are this immense mangrove system where
Yeah.
you just, they're just alive, these areas. And it's like that in Borneo. You just, I wake up in my bunk or wherever I'm sleeping, and you can just hear the bugs. You can hear them, and it's amazing. This symphony of chirps and squeaks and hums and yes.
If you don't know where Borneo is, look it up. You'll be quite amused, but not amused, quite fascinated by it.
Beautiful place.
Yeah, and while you were there, well, I think one time you talked about it.
Yes, I think
right?
so too. Yeah, we go. I mean, the pandemic has really put a damper on it, but we're looking to get back going again, and we run expeditions for both scientific purposes and citizen science or recreational purposes too. So yeah, hopefully we'll be doing those again.
Yes, because Carin has done some of the most fascinating things. Again, pre-pandemic, going on cruises to give talks.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
She went to Iceland not that long ago.
Yeah, we got back to Iceland, or to Iceland, back on the cruise ship, I guess I could say. I will be doing a cruise this summer, a quickie between New York and Southampton, and then very excited in November, I will be doing an expedition to Indonesia and Thailand.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that'll be really, I'm sure I'll see some awesome bugs there.
She's all about the bugs.
Oh yeah.
Well, thanks, Carin. That's really great. I think we're going to end it here.
Sounds good.
But I have to tell you, Karen's coming back with some really important news. So stay tuned. You better keep watching.
I can't wait to tell you all about something cool happening.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, everybody, be nice. That's just my new motto.
Okay, good. I love
nice.
that. Yes.
It costs nothing to be nice. It's absolutely free. Take care, everybody, and peace out.
Thank you. Bye.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.